Your mom played basketball with your head as a baby. Unfortunately, apparently Uncle Sam has an outerversal jab. I'm gonna go over why literally if he farts, Naruto dies. If he farts, Saiyan Saga dies for sure. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jobbers and Goons. Haven't dropped a video in a while, at least for my channel standards. I've been incredibly busy, giving you a lot of content. Kind of hit a views drought, so I was like, alright, let's take a break, figure out some content, and come back. Now, we are back. Also, I had a laptop issue. And this video is a banger. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't care how many views it gets. The idea is brilliant. So, essentially, every now and then on my channel, I'll get MMA inquiries and questions, including in my Discord server, which you should join. Link down below. And I was like, what's a cool way to incorporate UFC into my channel? This, in my opinion, is hilarious. Could Jon Jones solo history, if he was to run a gauntlet of the most dangerous warriors of all time, would he be able to take them all in unarmed combat, no rules within an arena? Now, I posted this question on my community tab and went with 10 of the commented fighters, and we're gonna explore them and see if they're able to take down Jones in combat. Now, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's try to get this to 300 likes. We hit 300 likes, I will do a part 2 with fighters. I almost say characters, real fighters. You comment down below or on the old community tab. More preferred in this comment section. Let me know who you want to see Jon Jones go up against in part 2. But anyways, I'm going to get into what Jones is capable of in case if you're not familiar, and then we'll get into it. I hope you guys enjoy, and without further ado, let's begin. Now, Jon Jones comes from a super athletic family with multiple brothers being massive football players in the NFL. Jones, in particular, decided to go the MMA route, initially teaching himself through things like watching YouTube videos and emulating moves. Given he was such a freak natural talent, at 6'4", with about a 6'10" reach, Jones competed in light heavyweight, winning over a dozen UFC titles, which is the most prestigious MMA or mixed martial arts organization within the world, with Jones notably being proficient in Muay Thai, wrestling, boxing, kickboxing, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and some Judo as well. Now, what also helps this, who is oftentimes considered the GOAT of mixed martial arts, if he is to get into a clash, Jones is also pretty crazy. Plenty of instances of him doing cocaine, partying, doing wild illegal shit, threatening to kill people. There's a whole bunch that points to Jones being wildly capable of killing someone in a fight if he has to. So, with this legend of MMA being thrown in the arena, let's see which 10 warriors you guys picked to defeat him. First up, King Leonidas of Sparta. Obviously, this is a warrior made famous through the story and later movie of 300. Coming from Sparta, he was actually believed to be above the Spartan average. Now, back then, the Spartan average was only around about 5'7". However, Leonidas was considered like peak athlete and physical dominance among his own people, and with records kind of reflect him being closer to 6 foot in height. Training his whole life in styles like pancration, he is an extremely lethal fighter, having killed obviously dozens if not hundreds in his time, likely even in thousands, considering how much you believe about the story of his battle. He, in terms of pancration, what this style means for him in unarmed combat is it's sort of like this ancient blend of wrestling and up-close grappling mixed with boxing and dirty boxing. Almost like combat sambo and whatnot, the earlier editions of something like that. Pancration is still known, still taught, but it would be somewhat considered outdated compared to other modified versions of martial arts combat. Now, what would happen if these two were to clash? Now, despite being Leonidas and how fierce he is, he's absolutely no match for someone like Jones. First of all, at his best, he's 6 feet tall. He's given up at least 4 inches. On top of being 4 inches taller, he has at least a 6'10 wingspan, which no doubt way greater than a wingspan than Leonidas would have. And he's way more versatile in unarmed combat. I just feel like Jones would wash him low to mid-diff. Despite Leonidas being crazy and about that life, it won't help him much against this modern martial arts machine. Now, next character, we... See what I mean? I said character. Smash the like button because this is outside the wheelhouse. Usually I do characters. I'm doing real fighters now. We have Shaka Zulu. Who is Shaka Zulu? Well, this is arguably the most famous African conqueror and perhaps warrior to ever exist. He killed all who were simply too short or not about that life within his own tribe. Like, you had to be peak killer, ready to do whatever, and physically capable of such things. If you weren't, you had to go. He killed, along with the people he commanded, over 2 million enemies in their lifetime. Like, that's how impactful his army was in wiping people out. Stylistically, in terms of how he fought and what kind of combat he used, Zulu had a very similar style and approach as Spartans in combat. He was estimated physically to be at about 5'9"-ish and around 160 pounds. One thing else to note about Zulu is his men and himself also chewed a poisonous herb that could blind enemies up close. Now, if Zulu and John Jones were to clash, how do I see this playing out? While he is absolutely dangerous, especially that poison, he is way smaller than John Jones. Given he's nearly a foot taller than Shaka Zulu, and given he fights at heavyweight now, so he's walking around at about 250, 260, he's nearly a foot taller and almost 100 pounds heavier, way better trained. I think he just picks him apart. While the poison could be an issue if it does get in his eyes or whatever, it's very hard to get there. Very doubtful that Shaka could even get that close. I think John's just beats the shit out of him. He's way too big. Next, we have Benkei. By the way, if I mispronounce anything, my bad. Moving on, Benkei. Now, this is a warrior monk turned samurai back in ancient Japan. He practiced martial arts religiously and is one of the greatest warriors of his time. He practiced all monk, samurai, and Sun Tzu techniques, including Kempo, other variations of karate, Aikido, and Judo, and other striking and close range variants to complement his swordsmanship in combat. This collectively was referred to as Jiu-Jitsu. Now, what was the size of Benkei? Now, he had several stories of supposedly superhuman feats, especially for back then. However, it is important to note that the average samurai was between 5'3" and 5'5" back then. So, what do I think would happen if the warrior monk turned samurai, Benkei, was to clash with the likes of John Jones in unarmed combat? I think he gets his ass kicked. Unfortunately, there is weight classes for a reason. That's just a dark truth. You need weight classes, son. He's too small. He would get bullied in unarmed combat by John Jones. No doubt about it. Next, we have an interesting one. Let me know. And by the way, I want this to go for every character. Let me know in the comment section down below how you think John Jones does against all these characters. Let me know your opinions. I'm curious to see what y'all think. Next, we have Harold Hardrada. Who was Harold? This was a Viking king from the old ages. Nothing has him smaller than 6'6". Most have him at 7 feet tall. He was an expert in pancration, or also glimo, which is a style of wrestling and grappling. While I did explain pancration before, I kind of want to talk about what to imagine his other wrestling and grappling and combat style training was like. This style would be considered similar somewhat to combat sambo or modern day Russian style grappling and striking. Harold served in the Varangian Guard. At the time, in history, this was the scariest warrior / most elite unit that served the Byzantine Empire. He is also one of the greatest berserkers to ever live, infamous behind his feat of holding a bridge by himself until he got cheap-shotted by warriors that floated underneath him. Now, who wins between him and Jon Jones? I actually think this is probably the hardest fight up to this point, with Jones winning mid to high diff. He's dealing with a massive crackhead, who also strictly charges in berserker style. This is problematic, but Jones, in my opinion, is insanely skilled, brutal in his own way, and way more technically sound in terms of unarmed combat. And I believe he's way more agile as well, and would use this to get this to the ground and choke him the fuck out or break some limbs. Eventually, he brings down this massive brute. I just think he's too slow and not skilled enough as a striker to do serious enough damage to Jon Jones, although his size alone makes him a serious threat. Next, we have a modern day fighter in Francis Ngannou, who was commented, of course. This is a former UFC heavyweight champion, known for his brutal knockout power. Now, Francis walks around at about 6'4", and weighs in around 260, likely 265, 275 when he's walking around or not within fight camp, with similar reach and height to Jon Jones, but naturally much bulkier and much more muscular. Now, he does have one-shot knockout power that made him pretty much the most feared UFC heavyweight on the planet for a long time. He's the specialist in the swing and bang technique, with some solid counter grappling when need be. So, who wins if Francis and Jones were to go at it in the arena? I have Jones winning mid to high diff. I think he would eye poke, combo, and grapple spam to the street W. I don't really see Francis landing clean in this scenario, especially if his knees are as bad as rumored. I think Jones, especially with his the likelihood he did some coke before the fight, probably gets the better of Francis in this situation. Next, we have Alexander Karelin. Now, who is Alex? This is a former Russian super heavyweight wrestling demigod. Now, he was so damn good at grappling that he was undefeated for over a decade and was nicknamed the Experiment, because literally people were like, this motherfucker's not real. They made him in a lab. Fedor Emelianenko, one of the greatest fighters to ever live, stated that if Alex had joined MMA, he would have folded everyone. He is a multiple-time Olympian with unreal strength at 6'4", 300 pounds. Now, who wins? While, in theory, Alex could physically throw Jon around, Jon is a billion times better as the proven striker, has the reach to keep him out of range of grappling, and if he's taken down, thrown down, forced to fight off his back, he has the BJJ and elbow strikes to fight off his back. So I actually have him winning mid to high diff, although he definitely wants to avoid grappling exchanges. Next, we have Thorkel the Tall. Who is Thorkel? Now, the infamously largest of the Vikings. He was also referred to as the Viking Giant. He had leadership and battle exploits that are somewhat contested, but enough material to work with. Famously, he was shown and kind of made more popular in the manga and anime, Vinland Saga. His possible size was 6'6 plus to 7'7", with him being well above the average Viking height of his time, which scientists believe to be about 5'9" based on skeletal remains. Training was similar to Harold, which is pancration and wrestling base, and unarmed specialty. Likely 280 pounds to 350 pounds range in terms of his weight. However, I do think it's important to note, he's like trained similar in the ways of Harold and what Harold learned, but Harold also went on to fight in more elite and prestigious areas and learn more there. So who would win? I think John clears with mobility and technique. He should wear this big motherfucker out low to mid diff. Like I said, Thorkel was simply not as renowned as Harold in combat, and certainly not as skilled or technical with it. Next, we have William Marshall. This is the most famous of European knights. He began his training at just the young age of 12 and was an absolute legend in combat. Marshall was documented at well over 6 foot, likely in the 6'3"-ish range. He also likely weighed 175 to 200 pounds. Knights' unarmed combat in training was similar to samurai's unarmed combat in jutsu, with emphasis on specialty and grappling up close. So, who do I think would win? While he has decent size, he would get mauled by the vastly more athletic and skilled John Jones. Just picked apart anywhere this fight goes in unarmed combat. I absolutely have Jones in this scenario. Next, we have Musashi, the iconic and legendary anti-samurai who folded everyone in duels and wrote the Book of Five Rings. While Musashi had the elite samurai combat training, he cheated, invented new methods of fighting, and favored winning over honor. Only records of size indicate he was huge for his era, close perhaps to 6 feet in height. Who would win if the legendary Musashi was to pull up on John Jones in unarmed combat? While Musashi is brilliant, scrappy, and a cheater, nothing indicates he could handle Jones unarmed. He would get outclassed and put down low to mid difficulty. Now the final fighter in this video, and smash the like button if you haven't already, we have Galvarino. The murderous Mapuche warrior who fought against Spanish conquerors, he lost both hands and fought on by having knives put in his hand stumps. Galvarino fought as a commander in wars even after his knife hands were added, and cut down several of the Spanish, including a notable second in command. His tribe practiced knife fighting, some basics in up-close combat, and mostly hunting techniques. Galvarino's people were between 5'2" and 5'5". Who would win? While his knife hands are a problem, he's also massively dwarfed by Jones and outskilled drastically. Jones might just snap his arms if he gets too close. I have mid-diff due to the potential of cuts, but I think Jones just eventually knocks his ass out or breaks limbs and chokes him out. So overall, in this episode of Could John Jones Take On the Rest of History, I used characters recommended by you guys, reviewed them, and let you know who I think would win. Jones seems to be a monster in unarmed combat, so let me know in the comment section who should face him again, and smash the like button if you want to see a part 2. Also, let me know in the comment section down below if you like ideas like these for versus battles and such, and if you want to see more and with different real people and stuff like that. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. It's been your boy Jobbers and Goons. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see y'all later. Peace.